Section 1.3. The importance of insects. Given the diversity and abundance of insects, and their near relatives, it is not surprising that they play essential and critical roles in the functioning of terrestrial and freshwater ecosystems and provide what are known as ecosystem services. Noriega et al., 2018. 1.3.1. Decomposition, nutrient recycling, and soil formation. As organisms release waste products or die, they ultimately leave behind an abundance of organic material that can be used by other organisms as both energy and nutrient resources. Species that specialize on feeding on dead organisms and waste products are known as decomposers or detritivores. Detritus is simply dead organic material. Detritivores are critical in physically and chemically breaking down and recycling organic material such that it can be, in turn, used by other organisms or returned to the abiotic environment. Indeed, much of the inorganic nutrients required by plants are derived by the decomposition of dead organisms. Similarly, all species occupying trophic levels which are dependent on plants for energy, nutrients and habitats, are indirectly supported by the recycling activities of detritivores. The processes of decomposition are complex. In short, it is a stepwise series of processes by which dead organic material, a dead animal body or a fallen tree, is sequentially broken down into smaller and simpler particles, which are utilized by a succession of species, each specializing on a particular particle size with a particular nutrient value for that species. In forest ecosystems, decomposition is critical in breaking down and recycling the complex macromolecules, cellulose, lignins, hemicellulose, etc., found in plant cell walls. This is especially critical for the woody portions of the plant. As this material is broken down, it forms smaller and smaller particles of organic matter which are then utilized as sources of nutrition by additional species of decomposers. With respect to the role of insects, the process of plant decomposition starts with herbivorous insects feeding on the live structures of plants. During the process of ingestion and digestion, the plant material is physically and chemically broken down. The herbivore will absorb necessary nutrients from this material, metabolize organic compounds as sources of energy, and then will expel as waste undigestible, unused material. This expelled material, referred to as frass, is often still rich in organic and inorganic nutrients which, in turn, are utilized by additional organisms, including, ultimately, plants. CO2 generated through metabolism is released during respiration into the atmosphere. As a result of the damage inflicted by herbivores, the plant is subject to additional attack by other organisms including herbivores that may accelerate both plant death and decomposition, other insects, fungi, prokaryotes. Often attack by one species leads to subsequent attack by others. Decomposition need not start with a live plant and the breakdown of woody material often begins with plant death. Here, the material is initially attacked by a variety of species, e.g. termites, beetles, that have evolved symbiotic associations with microorganisms which allow them to digest cellulose. While feeding these wood-feeding, xylophagous, species tunnel into their food resource, opening it up for further feeding and decomposition by additional species. Insects also play a role in the decomposition of animals. Once dead, vertebrate animals are subject to being fed upon by both other vertebrates, carrion feeders, as well as insects. Like plants, decomposition in animals follows a series of overlapping stages. Typically, the first insects that infest an animal corpse are evolutionarily specialized fly species, order Diptera. Adult female flies responding to volatile cues will lay eggs on an animal corpse. The eggs hatch, and the developing larvae burrow into and feed on the dead animal tissues. This feeding opens the corpse up to inoculation and subsequent decomposition by a variety of microorganisms and prokaryotes. Subsequent to the initial feeding by flies, the physical and chemical properties of the carrion render it susceptible to colonization by a variety of beetle species, Coleoptera. As with plant decomposition, although the stages of animal decomposition are not distinct, each species of insect has its preferred type and quality of tissue on which to feed and develop. The decomposition of both plants and animals attracts suites of predatory and parasitic insects and other arthropods that specialize on the insects engaged in decomposition. In both cases, there is a unique environment supporting insects that feed upon dead tissues while being fed upon by insect predators and parasites. Ultimately, with the decomposition of both plants and animals, microorganisms and prokaryotes break the remaining biological material down to simple organic and inorganic chemical constituents. Linked to the process of decomposition is that of soil formation. Soil structure, texture, nutrient content, and water holding capacity are all emergent properties of a variety of factors including climate, parent material of the underlying bedrock, topography, the organisms associated with the soil, and time. Decomposition, and the roles that insects play in that ecological process, are responsible for much of the organic matter found in soil. The importance of fine-grained organic matter as a component of soil is critical to all of the aforementioned properties of soil that are necessary for supporting the diversity of terrestrial life on the planet. Jackson et al. 2017, Lehman and Kleber 2015, Obolum et al. 2017. 1.3.2 Ecological Roles and Interactions. Like the diversity of the class Insecta, the ecological roles that insects play in the Earth's ecosystems and interactions that insects are involved in are similarly diverse. Insects occupy virtually every ecological role in the planet's terrestrial ecosystems with the exception of being photosynthetic producers. As life on the planet relies on energy provided by the sun, from an ecological perspective, photosynthetic producers form the critical link between this ultimate source of energy and the rest of the organisms on the planet via a complex network of food webs. Schlesinger and Bernhard 2020, exceptions being unique isolated systems that are reliant on deep ocean thermal vents for energy. Photosynthesis captures the energy from the sun using carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and water to form a variety of energy-rich compounds, e.g. carbohydrates, lipids, and proteins, using nitrogen sources extracted from the soil, that form the fundamental building block for plants and are stored within plant cells. Thus, producers form the base of any food web. Above the level of producers are the herbivores, animals that feed on plants. Herbivores, consequently, are the first step in redistributing captured energy and nutrients to the rest of the living portions of any ecosystem. As a variety of animals consume herbivores and are in turn consumed themselves, captured solar energy and plant-derived resources are ultimately distributed through an ecosystem via complex food webs. Insects are the dominant set of herbivores. Approximately 25% of insect species are herbivores, and thus form the critical energy and nutrient linkages between plants and the rest of animal life. As a group, insect herbivores feed on all parts and structures of plants, roots, stems, reproductive structures, etc. Indeed, all parts of every terrestrial and freshwater aquatic plant are likely to be fed upon by at least one insect herbivore. There are a wide variety of types of insect herbivores and most can be categorized by the plant tissues on which they feed. Folivores are adapted to feed on the leafy components of the plant. Frugivores specialize upon fruit, while granivores feed upon seeds. Plant fluid-feeding insects specialize on extracting the fluid components of either or both xylem and phloem, the fluid-conducting vessels of the plant. This latter category of insects is also important as they may transmit many pathogenic microorganisms that cause viral, fungal, and bacterial diseases, reducing plant health and, in some cases, causing plant mortality. Within each of these categories of insect herbivora there is a tremendous level of variation in the degree of host plant specialization. Many insect herbivores may feed on a specific tissue associated with only a few species of plants. Others may feed on many species of plants. Through herbivora, insects are important in the overall regulation of plant communities by thinning overly dense plant populations and removing stressed and diseased individuals. Under poor forest management, where plant densities are allowed to become extreme, or when extensive drought conditions persist for years reducing plant defensive capabilities, populations of insect herbivores can rapidly increase in density leading to massive forest die-offs. Figure 1.8. The importance of insects in food webs goes much further than just herbivora. Insects, not just herbivores, are a vital source of food, energy and nutrients, to a tremendous variety of vertebrates including fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds, and mammals. Caponera 2011. In addition to partially regulating plant communities through herbivora, insects also provide a variety of beneficial services. One of the more important of these services is biological control. When presented with optimum growing conditions coupled with limited or absent predation and parasitism, herbivorous insect populations can explode in density and geographical expanse while significantly reducing the capacity of forest ecosystems to provide services or triggering large-scale ecosystem changes. This is especially the case with successful insect invasions in which existing natural predators and parasites are absent. Brockerhoff and Liebhold 2017. Importation and release of specifically adapted insect predators and parasites from the areas of origin of the invasive species may restore the ecological balance such that the densities of the invasive species are held below damaging levels. In normal functioning forests without invasive species, insect predators and parasites play key roles in naturally managing herbivorous insects below damaging densities. Kidd and Jervis 1997, but see Rosenheim 1998. Figure 1.9. Figure 1.8. Mountain pine beetle infestation. Copyright Desine Huber, University of Northern British Columbia, used by permission. Granivorous insects, through the process of harvesting seed on which to feed, often inadvertently disperse viable, undamaged seed. Although some seed will be consumed, some will be dispersed to new unoccupied habitats, thus providing a benefit to the plant. Although wind pollination is critical for coniferous forests and grasslands, non-grass flowering angiosperms rely on mutualistic pollination by animals, the majority of which are insects. Indeed, the success of flowering plants is partially the result of tens of millions of years of coevolution between insects and plants. Most pollinating insects can be found within the orders Hymenoptera, ants, bees, stinging wasps, Diptera, flies, Lepidoptera, moths and butterflies, and Coleoptera, beetles. Figure 1.10. Although any insect feeding on flowers, pollen, or nectar has the potential to provide pollination services. Many insect-plant pollination associations are mutualistic in nature, by which plants require and benefit from insect transfer of pollen, and insects receive flower nectar or pollen as a food resource. Additionally, insect predators that forage on insect pollinators while pollinating may inadvertently assist in the movement of pollen between flowers or individual plants. In addition to affecting plants by their feeding activities, insects, largely herbivores, also play an extremely important role as vectors of a wide variety of plant diseases caused by viruses, bacteria, fungi, and nematodes. Such diseases may be fatal and widespread, resulting in complete loss of tree species, e.g. the Dutch elm disease fungi transmitted by bark beetles. Others may only result in poor tree growth and branch dieback, e.g. Xylella bacterial diseases in many species of eastern North American hardwood forests. Many plant viruses that affect trees and understory plant species are transmitted by a host of aphids. Several species of bark beetles not only directly damage their hosts through feeding, but rely on mutualistic associations with fungal species to overcome host tree defenses. Cerambicid beetles are the primary insect vector of pine wood nematode, which causes pine wilt disease. It should also not be overlooked that a number of insect species, e.g. mosquitoes and other biting flies, found in forests may transmit diseases that affect humans, domestic livestock, and wildlife. Various species of Plasmodium, i.e. malaria, West Nile and other arboviruses, plague. Figure 1.9. A. Mantid, a predatory insect with raptorial front legs, capturing and feeding on a cricket. Copyright Ian Wright, used by permission. B. Aphidius ervi, Hymenoptera, Braconidae, a parasitic wasp, attacking an aphid. The wasp deposits an egg into the body of the aphid, and the developing wasp larva feeds upon and ultimately kills the aphid. Copyright Alex Wild, used by permission. C. Harvester ant collecting seed. Copyright Alex Wild, used by permission. 1.3.3. Insect decline. There has been growing concern and evidence for global declines in insect biodiversity, Wagner 2020. Loss of insect biodiversity has been detected on every continent where it has been examined. These losses have been documented for multiple types of terrestrial and aquatic insect communities. Potential causes of these declines are many, and it is likely that no one factor is responsible for declines everywhere. The causes are not unique to the loss of insect species and are generally attributable to human activities: habitat loss and fragmentation due to agriculture, urbanization, recreation, pollution, climate change, and increase in transport and establishment of invasive species. The implications of these findings are serious, as the degradation or loss of many of the ecosystem services that insects provide, including linking the Earth's food webs, which include humans, would be catastrophic. Hopefully, with additional research and monitoring, both global and local factors responsible for these declines can be clearly identified and mitigated. Figure 1.10. Representative pollinators. A native leafcutter bee, Hymenoptera. Copyright Alex Wild, used by permission. B. A syrphid fly, Diptera. Copyright Ansel Uman, bugwood.org. Circa a skipper butterfly, Lepidoptera. Copyright Ansel Uman, bugwood.org. D. A flower-feeding blister beetle, Coleoptera. Copyright Alex Wild, used by permission.